You shall be my betrothed, Sinnel said. With blank face, Estefania thought, just now I feel like I had an auditory hallucination, she said in her mind. Oi, are you listening? Sinnel said. What were we talking about? Estefania said. I said, you shall be my betrothed, he stated. In her mind, I didn't mishear him. Betrothed, as in engaged to be married? Why, Sinnel-sama's partner should be Angelica, alone, so why me of all people? Still shock, thinking to her mind. Orius, don't get the wrong idea, Sinnel said. I just figured it would be perfect for keeping women away, he said. Oh, that's it, Estefania said in her mind. Sinnel-sama wants a strictly business relationship. As a result of being the strongest magic user on the continent, assuming the title of Archduke, Sinnel-sama effectively standing above the 4 countries as the person of highest authority. In other words, becoming Sinnel-sama's partner means rising to the top of this continent. Even though Sinnel-sama is a bit intimidating, there's no way the women from all the countries would leave him alone. Playing betrothed doesn't particularly present any problems for me, but I wonder if it's okay to give such a significant role to someone in 2 months, she said to her mind. Even short term, is it really all right to have me as your betrothed? She asked to Sinnel. It's strange for me to be the one to say it, but I think I'm still a pretty suspicious person, she added. No problem, Sinnel answered. Besides, with your position as my betrothed, it won't be unnatural for you to live in the castle, Sinnel said calmly. Estefania's heart fluttered. In her thoughts, she recalled, this silver castle, where Sinnel-sama lives, doesn't have ordinary servants. Instead, it's filled with powerful magic users. Even as a guest, a no-magic person like me would surely draw their attention. But by naming me his betrothed, he's protecting me. He's looking out for me. I understand, she said softly, her eyes sincere. I'll do my best to be useful to you, Sinnel-sama. Then it's settled, Sinnel replied with a rare, warm smile. What should I do from now on? Is there already someone I need to face off against? She asked, her energy sparking with nervous anticipation. You needn't do anything for the time being, he said, slightly surprised by her eagerness. I see, she nodded. For now, I'll assign you an attendant. If you need anything, let them know, Sinnel said. An attendant? Estefania echoed. Come, Sinnel commanded. In an instant, a man with a lively, slightly over-the-top presence appeared. You called, master. He stood tall, eyes darting between Sinnel and Estefania, quickly assessing the situation with exaggerated enthusiasm. Ah, I see now. My strength is finally needed. At long last, Master has recognized my power. This is my betrothed, Sinnel announced. The attendant froze, face twisted in disbelief. What? I'm assigning you to serve as her attendant, Sinnel added firmly. Attend? The man stammered, visibly thrown off and confused by the sudden announcement. Show her proper hospitality, Sinnel instructed. But before the attendant could respond, Sinnel vanished into thin air. Wait! He tried to call out, but Sinnel was already gone. He couldn't help but be confused by such a brief explanation. Estefania noticed it. I guess that's understandable, she thought to herself. I'm not quite sure I understand the situation, the man said, rubbing the back of his neck, but it seems I've been assigned as your attendant. Well, I look forward to working with you. Ah, same here. I'll be in your care. My name is Estefania, she replied politely. I'm Elliot. I'm the master's right-hand man, he said, with a proud gleam in his eye. Estefania blinked. There was no character named Elliot in the novel, she thought, confused. Suddenly, Elliot leaned forward, eyes twinkling. Have you become entranced by my beauty? Huh. Estefania froze. To think I've charmed even the master's betrothed, Elliot declared, full of confidence. Ah, my beauty is truly frightening. But alas, I was born to bear such a fate. Sinnel-sama, your right hand is really something else, Estefania thought, completely overwhelmed. Now hear me out, Miss Betrothed, Elliot said, suddenly grabbing her hand dramatically. The numerous sins I've committed. Oh dear, Estefania sighed inwardly. I have a bad feeling about this. Several hours later. And so I said to them, please don't fight over me, just like that. Elliot continued his endless narration, clearly lost in his own delusions. Estefania sat silently, her face a mix of weariness and confusion. At that time, I felt, once again, as though for the first time, that I truly am sinfully beautiful, Elliot proclaimed. Elliot, Estefania interrupted gently. What is it? I was just getting to the good part, he protested. No, that's enough for today, she said with a tired smile. Look, it's already getting dark outside. I'll be staying here in the castle from now on, so I'd like to know where my room is. Oh dear, how thoughtless of me. All right, I shall guide you to your room. Elliot stood dramatically, ready to serve. Phew, Estefania thought with relief. But as they walked, she noticed something odd. He suddenly went quiet. I wonder why he's not saying anything. You know, Elliot finally said, voice low, I think there's no one as lovely as the master. Estefania looked at him, curious. I'm beautiful, of course, he went on, but Master Sinnel, he is the pinnacle of beauty. It's not his face or his magic, it's his utter solitude that makes him so breathtaking. That's how I see it. Then, suddenly, he turned to her. Estefania. Yes? She answered. I like beautiful things, he said coldly, eyes narrowing into a glare. So, I wish you'd disappear. A betrothed is something that will only damage his beauty. Estefania was stunned. Elliot had just looked her straight in the eye and told her, with a dark smile, that he wished she would disappear. Then, just as quickly, he paused, his expression shifting, and burst into laughter. The sudden change left Estefania frozen in shock. Even if I didn't see you make that face, I get it, Elliot chuckled. You're not the master's betrothed in any real sense, are you? I have no idea how you convinced him, but it's related to your commission, right? Yes, it is, Estefania quickly replied, a bit relieved. Due to certain circumstances, I'm in the position of being his betrothed, but it's in name only. Elliot suddenly cut her off. Even so, don't treat what I said just now as a joke. Not knowing how things might go from now, it's best you engrave this in your heart. Huh? Estefania blinked, confused. Master is a captivating person, Elliot continued with a serious tone. Even if you don't feel it now, you might end up saying you want to be his betrothed for real. No way, Estefania replied quickly. Elliot's gaze darkened as he leaned slightly forward. Master will never love you, he said coldly. Engrave that upon your heart. His smile was mocking, almost cruel. Estefania had no words. She stood silent as Elliot opened a nearby door. Now, this is your room, he said casually. It hasn't been cleaned at all, so it might be a bit dirty. A bit? Estefania coughed as a cloud of dust swirled around her. It can't be helped. Pretend or not, I only just heard that the master's betrothed would be staying here. His grin returned, smug and unbothered. Still, Estefania managed a polite response. No, I'm grateful to you for providing it. Even though it was so sudden, thank you for taking the trouble to guide me here. It'll be all right after a bit of cleaning. Elliot turned to leave. Oh, right. Outside of this room, I can't guarantee your safety, so be careful. Estefania's eyes widened. What do you mean by that? But Elliot only smiled and said, Well then, good night. Before walking away. Left alone, Estefania began to clean the room, coughing as the dust rose around her. Well, it's still better than what I had at the villa, she sighed. Finally finished, she laid down on the bed. "What an incredible day," she said aloud, forcing an awkward smile as the chaos of earlier events replayed in her mind. "I didn't think things would go so well," she whispered. "I thought at worst it would end the moment I met Sinnel-sama. I didn't even expect to see him, let alone—" She blushed, thinking back to his presence. "I feel like I've used up a lifetime's worth of good luck." Setting aside everything that happened with Elliot, she realized how energized she felt thanks to Sinnel-sama. "I don't even feel tired. In fact, I feel like my lifespan has extended." Just like someone in my world once said, "Having an idol really is good for your health." Her smile faded for a moment. "Mother must be shocked. I hope she'll forgive me. I promise. I'll never make another selfish request." With that quiet thought, she drifted off to sleep. Later, she woke up dazed. "I must have fallen asleep," she mumbled as she sat up. "My throat's dry." Just then, she heard a faint rattle. Turning toward the window, she froze in place. Staring back at her were two enormous, glowing red eyes. Her whole body trembled in fear. Estefania's body trembled as her knees gave out beneath her. Her breath caught in her throat as a monstrous crimson eye stared straight at her through the window, only to slowly dissolve into the night air, vanishing like mist under moonlight. Frozen with fear, she collapsed to the floor, her voice barely a whisper. Was that what he meant? Earlier, Elliot, her so-called attendant, had warned her not to step outside. He'd said he couldn't guarantee her safety beyond the door. She hadn't understood then. But now, her shivering limbs and pounding heart understood all too well. The next morning, sunlight filtered through the curtains as Elliot entered the room, humming lightly and carrying a tray. "Something was outside your window, you say?" he asked casually. "Hang on, thank goodness you're still in one piece." He beamed, far too cheerful. "What was it?" Estefania asked, voice shaking. He shrugged. "Hard to say. Could have been a spirit, maybe a summoned creature. Around the full moon, strange things wander." She hesitated. "You said I'd be safe inside this room. Does that still hold true?" "If safety is your goal," Elliot replied with a smile, "you might want to leave the capital entirely." He handed her the tray, a slice of hard bread and a glass of water. Her eyes widened. "I don't mean to sound ungrateful," she began cautiously, "but is this really all?" Elliot's expression darkened. "Are you complaining?" She quickly shook her head. "Good," he said, waving dismissively. "If you need to do laundry, there's water in the tub. Enjoy." "Wait," she called after him. He turned, his gaze cold. "What is the master doing right now?" she asked. "He's out on a task. He'll be gone for 6 days." 6 days. The full moon. Inwardly, she clung to that thought. If I'm to give him the medicine in time, I have only 4 days. "Thank you," she said, forcing a smile. Elliot smiled back, but in that smile, something cruel lingered. She didn't know then. But from that day on, Elliot's torment would only grow worse. 5 days later. Estefania lay curled in bed, weak from hunger. Her stomach groaned in protest, but she could barely move. How did it come to this? Elliot only came once a day. Bread and water, always the same, always cold. She was trapped. With no home to return to, no allies. Her body was deteriorating from lack of food, sleep, and movement. Even at night, the image of that red eye haunted her mind. At this rate, she thought, the sickness won't kill me, starvation will. With great effort, she pushed herself upright. Her legs wobbled beneath her as she opened the door and stepped into the corridor. Maybe Yuchi can help me, she thought, clinging to the idea. Her pale face and weak steps carried her down the hall until she stopped, startled by the woman ahead. Beautiful, cold, and intimidating. Could that be Magdalena Lively? Estefania froze. In the story, Magdalena was the jealous sorceress who stood between the hero and his true love. Mad with obsession, she tried time and time again to eliminate her rival, a villainess through and through. Estefania's heart sank. So this is it. Sinnel wants to use me to deal with her. The moment Magdalena learns of her engagement to Sinnel, she'll try to kill me. With a pale, drained expression and trembling legs, the girl questioned herself in silence. Do I even stand a chance against her? Her thoughts were quickly interrupted by a violent cough. It racked her thin frame, and when she raised her trembling hand to her mouth, blood stained her palm. Her body swayed. "This isn't good," she whispered before collapsing to the floor in a lifeless heap. Darkness swallowed her. Elsewhere in the towering castle, footsteps echoed sharply through the corridor, rage simmering beneath every step. "That girl! She's more stubborn than I expected," he hissed under his breath. He clenched his fists. I was just outside the chamber that night, but with the silencing enchantments in place, I couldn't hear a thing. Still, I knew this was a test for me to prove I'm more than just a shadow in his court. His voice dropped to a bitter whisper. I claimed to be his right hand, but truthfully, it's that wretched magic wielder he listens to. That little sorcerer holds his attention, but not anymore. He stopped before an ornate door laced with runes. She's royalty from the eastern lands. That's why he couldn't cast her out like the others. But it doesn't matter. As long as I'm here, I won't let her bend this castle to her will. He took a breath with pride. My lord, I've come to report. The door creaked open with a hiss, ancient symbols glowing faintly. Inside, the master sat silent in a chamber swallowed by shadow and ice. The man stepped forward, eagerly smiling. Just as you instructed, the girl is near her breaking point. She'll leave soon. Thanks to me. But the words never finished. In a blink, the master's hand was around his throat, lifting him clean off the ground. He dangled in the air, eyes wide in disbelief. Why is he? Pain bloomed as the grip tightened, and realization crashed in. The master's gaze was not one of gratitude. It was fury, unforgiving and cold as death itself. Master, Elliot gasped, his voice strained and broken as Sinnel's grip crushed his windpipe. His legs kicked weakly in the air. Just before the world went black, Sinnel released him. Elliot collapsed to the floor, coughing violently. He barely had time to breathe when a chilling voice, low and deadly, echoed through the chamber. Where is she? Elliot's eyes widened. The room suddenly felt colder. I don't understand, he stammered. Even if I told you, what would you do? I've already taken care of it. I made sure she wouldn't stay. The words had barely left his mouth when a blinding flash moved faster than thought. Sinnel's boot slammed into Elliot's stomach, launching him across the room. His body crashed into the wall with a sickening thud, cracks forming in the stone behind him. He groaned, curling on the ground, gasping. Why are you doing this? I did everything you asked. Sinnel's voice thundered through the room, laced with fury. Didn't I say she was my fiancée? But that's temporary, isn't it? Elliot screamed back. She's royalty. You couldn't throw her out yourself. That's why you put me in charge of her. He clutched his ribs, panting. I followed your orders. I gave her the bare minimum of respect, just like you said. Sinnel didn't respond. He only stared, eyes blazing with cold, merciless rage. Then, in a heartbeat, Elliot's right arm vanished. A red mist followed. What? Elliot's scream tore through the chamber. He fell to his knees, blood pooling beneath him, face pale from pain and shock. Sinnel stepped forward, his voice deathly calm. "Answer me. Where is she?" Trembling, face soaked in sweat, Elliot barely managed to speak. "The room, at the end of the east wing." A low, sharp tsk escaped Sinnel's lips. Without another word, he vanished in a flash of crackling light. Silence returned. Elliot stared at the space where Sinnel had stood. It wasn't just a show?" he muttered. "He's serious about her?" His voice cracked, disbelief clouding his face. "No way!" Far across the castle, in a darkened chamber at the east wing, Sinnel appeared instantly. His sharp eyes scanned the room and froze. There, collapsed and barely breathing, was the girl. Her face was pale, her lips tinged with blue. She lay unconscious, fragile as glass, lost in her suffering. For the first time, Sinnel's cold expression faltered. He approached quietly, then gently lifted her frail body into his arms, cradling her with an urgency, then teleported. Estefania woke up in a daze, slowly sitting up, confused about her surroundings. Where is this?" she whispered, scanning the unfamiliar room. She thought to herself, "It's not like I wandered in here, right? I was definitely in that room before going to bed." Her memories came back in pieces. "At that time, I lost consciousness and collapsed. I woke up hours later, maybe because I was forced to sleep, but it actually felt good. I was able to wash the blood off my hands. After that, I fell asleep again from exhaustion. I don't remember anything else." She furrowed her brows. "What happened?" Just then, the door creaked open and Yuchi burst in. His eyes widened with joy upon seeing her awake. "Steffi!" he cried, running to her and pulling her into a tight hug. His voice trembled, and he was close to tears. Estefania, still caught in her thoughts, took a second to react. "Yuchi!" she said, startled. "I'm sorry!" he said, eyes watery. "Why are you apologizing?" she asked gently. "Because I wasn't there. That damn narcissist." Yuchi began to rant, clenching his fists. "Damn narcissist?" Estefania thought. Realizing himself, Yuchi quickly pulled away. "Sorry, you're not feeling well and I just hugged you out of nowhere. How are you feeling? I think you should rest more." "I'm fine," Estefania replied with a small smile. "It's not like I'm hurt. You don't have to worry. But still, you were forced to live in that dirty room for almost a week, and you barely ate. Of course I'm worried," Yuchi said, his voice full of concern. Estefania's smile faded. "How do you know about that?" "I heard it from Master," Yuchi replied. "From Sinnel-sama?" she asked. He nodded. Everything, including you becoming Master's fiancé." Yuchi then explained everything that had happened. Sinnel-sama was supposed to take care of her, but due to an urgent commission, he had temporarily assigned Elliot. However, Elliot went out of control and disrespected her. Sinnel found out and punished him severely. "So that's what happened. I'm glad to know Elliot was acting on his own," Estefania thought. "Then who brought me here? Was it you?" she asked. Yuchi opened his mouth to answer, but paused when Sinnel entered the room. "Oh, Master, Steffi's awake," he smiled brightly, then turned to her. "I'll go bring your meal now. Later, let's have a proper chat, okay? Bye-bye." And just like that, he was gone. "Wait, Yuchi!" Estefania called, but he had already disappeared. Left alone with Sinnel, she tensed. Nervously avoiding eye contact, she said, "It seems Yuchi was kind enough to move me to such a nice room, but I understand my position. The room Elliot provided was already more than enough. I'll tell Yuchi not to trouble himself further. I apologize for the inconvenience." Sinnel looked at her silently, a confused expression on his face. Then suddenly, as if remembering something, Estefania stood. "That's right. I need to give you the medicine." "I'll ask Yuchi where your luggage is," Sinnel interrupted gently. "So please, wait a moment." But before she could respond, Estefania swayed and began to fall. She braced herself for impact, shutting her eyes, but instead felt strong arms catch her. "Ah, wow, something smells really good," she thought in a daze. "What fabric softener does he use? Wait, no! This world doesn't have something like that. It doesn't smell like perfume either. Could this possibly be Sinnel-sama's natural scent? "Hey," Sinnel's voice broke through her thoughts. I'm so sorry," she gasped. "I had no intention of touching you, Sinnel-sama. I'll be more careful from now on." But Sinnel suddenly placed a firm hand on her shoulder and gently pushed her back onto the bed. "Huh?" "Sinnel-sama, wait." "Shut up for a bit," he said calmly, placing his hand over her mouth.